this bubble is ripe to pop. Overnight, prices were marked down very, very heavily. Now, I would suggest that there is some indigestion, if you like, in the Shanghai futures market, Shanghai Gold Futures Exchange. Overnight, we've seen this a few times during Shanghai trading hours. So that indigestion was continuing, and it drove down gold and silver quite hard. Not much volume. Is indicative of a squeeze on the swaps. I think they are being very, very badly squeezed. The liquidity has very much come from leasing, central bank, leasing of central bank gold. I mean, that was clear, and it was proved by the fact that bullion banks were queuing up to take gold out of the Bank of England vaults. I mean, these are banks which have accounts with the Bank of England. So it's possible for them to store some of their gold there, but they would tend not to. Therefore, at least a large amount of the gold that came out of the Bank of England was effectively leased gold, and it was taken by bullion banks who were benefiting, if you like, from the spread between futures, which were trading at a huge rate, interest rate premium. By interest rate, I mean compared with the gold lease rate. It was a simple interest rate arbitrage. Now, that has now stopped. And if you look at the COMEX warehouse gold stocks, they've now begun to decline. So that process is over. Furthermore, it was only week before last, I was in London, visiting someone in Throgmorton Street, behind the Bank of England. The doors were firmly shut. There was nothing going in or out. So I think that process is over. But it does raise the question, quite rightly, that how much liquidity is actually left within the system here, because we get vault reports from LBMA authorized vaults, as it were, and they have declined a little bit, but not hugely. But most of the gold there is owned by someone, as opposed to being, if you like, the liquidity for the bullion banks to draw upon. So it's an interesting. It's a question we would all like to know the answer to. My guess is there is less liquidity there than the numbers would suggest. Quite a lot less liquidity. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking in the hundreds of tons rather than the thousands of tons. So, and this is very important, given that the demand from China and other East Asian nations, seem to be continuing apace. They're continuing to get hold of virtually every ton of gold that becomes available. So, yeah, the liquidity situation I don't see really improving. The first question as to whether the LBMA and the Bank of England refuse to send any gold over to the other side of the Atlantic. I don't think that's quite the way it works. Basically, if you have gold or you have leased some gold and the opportunity is there, that is what drives the move over. It's actually got nothing to do with the LBMA, so long as the members of the LBMA behave within its rules and regulations. As far as the Bank of England is concerned, there is a problem, because if you lease gold, then that gold is your property over the duration of the lease. And it could be that if you lease gold, say for, let's say, 5 years or something like that, which not unusual, I would suggest, then you can pass that gold on to other people, rehypothecate it. Because, why do you have gold? You have gold basically as a bank to use as collateral, to collateralize deals. So I think from both the LBMA and the Bank of England's point of view, they're rather limited in terms of what they can do to discourage gold from flowing across the Atlantic. The market would probably do it, if you like, insofar as if there is a shortage of gold in London, then the lease rate should rise. And that might generate a bit of interest, if you like, to get gold back. And if you look at the the last vaulting figures, I think I'm right in saying that the Bank of England numbers were down a little bit, but the LBMA numbers were up a little bit. Now, it's not the total thing, because the LBMA vaults, which are recorded, are vaults within the M25, which is the circular motorway that goes around London. There are other vaults outside, I guess. And also, of course, we've got other vaults in other parts of the world, particularly places like Switzerland and so on. So, this is just part of the whole situation, as it were. And I think it would be a mistake to read too much into fault moves, if you like, changes in faulting levels in London and also in the Bank of England. Well, so far as we are aware, the Treasury is not involved with this movement of gold at all. If it was, then this gold wouldn't be appearing in the COMEX warehouse statistics. And furthermore, I think that anything that the US Treasury does will not be divulged. So we really cannot draw any conclusions at all. All we can do is drum up some conspiracy theories. And that's not something I'm really prepared to get involved with.